It's been a busy few weeks, and I always like to bring to the table themes or trends that I see with couples that are trying to heal. And I talk about it a lot, but there is a point when the betrayed has to say enough is enough. It's a point where the unfaithful is just resistant to doing work, resistant to taking action. And I'll tell you, most of the time, people change, and at least I can tell you with unfaithful spouses, most of the time they change only because of the threat of loss or the threat of consequences. And so I encourage the betrayed spouses to not necessarily address it like an ultimatum, but if you're trying to get your spouse to cooperate and they just won't, you're probably going to have to begin to enact some consequences. But it's not just like this. It's not, are you going to go to the EMS weekend? No. Well, here's your consequences, little Johnny, because here's what's coming your way. And it becomes childlike, and what you're probably going to get from the unfaithful spouse is a childlike response. So the more that you treat them with a childlike demeanor or theory, you're probably going to get a childlike response from them. But here's the way Rick says it, and it's brilliant. When the pain exceeds the pleasure of the event, change is going to come. And so you have to be careful, because it's not about, okay, get ready because pain is coming, unfaithful spouse. No, that's only going to cause more trouble, I promise you. So how it translates is this. It's giving your spouse maybe an ultimatum, and I encourage you not to say, me or the affair partner. That's going to blow up in your face. It's either get help, and if you don't want to get help, then I need you to know I can no longer live this way. I can no longer subject myself to repeated betrayal or indifference or ambiguity. I can no longer live in an unsafe environment like this. It's hurting me. It's stealing away from me the quality of life that I want to have. I can't subject myself to your lack of dedication to getting help any longer. I will not do that. I have done that long enough, and the time has come for me to get help. The time has come for me to pursue my own recovery if you're not going to be involved. What you're doing is you're giving him consequences, but you're not doing it in a childlike way. You see, I've said this before. It is saying to him or saying to her, you get to say no. You get to refuse treatment, but you don't get to keep life the same if you're not going to get help. What you're doing, because at some level, using addiction therapy, if you will, we want them to bottom out, right? We want them to hit rock bottom, but I learned this from an interventionist. You can actually bring the bottom up, and you can actually raise up that bottom and say, okay, let me introduce you to rock bottom with me. Rock bottom with me says, I'm no longer going to live this way. You ever have your foot stepped on once, you're like, ow, that hurts. And then you get your foot stepped on twice, you're like, that really hurts. And it's already hurting from the first time, and now there's a second time. The third time that someone looks like they're going to step on your foot, you move your foot. And I think there's a point for the betrayed spouse, male or female, to say, I'm moving my foot. So I think some of you need to really consider moving your foot today, because they're going to try and probably step on it again. And when they don't and they misstep, it's going to hurt. And that pain is going to exceed pleasure and cause them to want to change. I don't know if you'll still be there for that change, but you owe it to yourself to move your foot.